Chapter 7. The city looms. A sense of awe rippled through the young fly as he flew into the city's outskirts. No longer were there just small homes and farmsteads. Here, buildings rose in rows, some towering like monoliths against the darkening sky. Windows glimmered with artificial light. Street lamps flickered to life, illuminating broad avenues paved with cobblestones. Horse-drawn carts and rumbling trucks jostled for space, churning up the city's heartbeat of movement. Everywhere he looked, people teemed. Men in uniforms, workers carrying bundles, women with baskets of provisions. The fly struggled to comprehend the enormity of it all. Horns blared from trucks, and steam hissed from vents near factories. Overhead, great banners were draped across facades, emblazoned with an eagle-like emblem. Though the fly could not read or understand the symbol fully, he sensed its gravity. It was a mark of authority, a sign that this city was under a particular regime. The architecture loomed tall, columns and arches reminiscent of a grand imperial style. Darkness pressed in from the sky, yet the streets remained alive with a frenetic energy. The fly glided down a wide thoroughfare, waving around lampposts and overhead wires. A sense of intimidation washed over him. Everything was so large, so charged. Is this the heart of the conflict? He wondered. He followed the flow of vehicles and pedestrians, drawn toward what seemed to be the city center. Growing crowds, dressed in a variety of attire, from everyday work clothes to stark uniforms, moved in the same direction. Their expressions were taut, infused with anticipation or dread. A cluster of open, backed trucks passed by, filled with soldiers standing at attention. The fly dipped out of their way, nearly grazed by a passing flagpole. At times, the city's noise became overwhelming engines, shouts, footsteps echoing off stone walls. The fly found a momentary refuge on a street sign overhead. From there, he watched the swirl of humanity below. Thousands of individuals, each with their own thoughts, fears, hopes, and each with far more time to live than the fly. Yet they gathered tonight for a singular purpose. As if carried by the collective current, the fly again took wing. He picked up on the rhythmic cadence of chanting, distant but rising. Banners fluttered from tall buildings, a sea of the same stark emblem, repeated endlessly. The architecture was designed to impress, to evoke grandeur. Stone eagles perched on rooftops, staring down with blank, carved eyes. Drawn onward, the fly soon found himself in a sprawling plaza or main square. Towering monuments lined the perimeter. In the center stood a colossal building with a grand balcony, columns forming a stern facade. The crowd thickened, men and women clustering in neat rows, flags raised. The hum of excitement was palpable, a tension that crackled like static in the air. Though he could not understand the words, the fly sensed the fervor in their voices. Some shouted with zeal, hands raised in salute. Others stood quietly, eyes solemn. Uniformed officers paced at the edges, ensuring order. From this vantage, the fly recognized the city's heart, a stage or podium erected at the top of the grand building's steps, spotlights raking the facade. The speaker had not yet appeared, but the crowd clearly awaited him. Large banners draped the columns, and a hush spread intermittently as if an announcement might come at any moment. The fly hovered near a massive statue, a figure carved in stone, draped in an imposing cloak, arm raised in triumph. The statue's eyes were chiseled into a gaze of resolute purpose. Even from the fly's perspective, it loomed like a silent sentinel. Night was settling in fully now. Street lamps ringed the plaza, and giant floodlights flicked on, casting stark shadows. The city center glowed under artificial radiance, the sky above tinted with a haze of smoke and light pollution. The fly felt his energy waning, but also felt compelled to push on. This must be the place, he thought. If there is meaning, it lies here, where thousands gather to listen to one man speak. He glided closer, noticing the lines of trucks parked near side streets, guards stationed at every intersection. One guard noticed the fly buzzing close to his face and swatted reflexively, but the fly darted away. The guard shook his head, returning his attention to scanning the crowd. Drifting just above the throng, the fly picked up on the surge of expectation when an officer stepped onto the stage and tapped a microphone. Static crackled, and the crowd rustled with anticipation. The officer barked a few words, then stepped aside. A hush fell, so complete that even the fly felt its weight. Spotlights converged on the stage. Out walked a figure in a stiff uniform, chest adorned with medals, posture rigid. The crowd erupted in cheers and chants, arms raised in orchestrated salutes. Even the stone buildings seemed to vibrate with the force of that collective roar. The fly's compound eyes focused on the man's face, stern, intense, brimming with an almost terrifying conviction. The man surveyed the sea of people, letting the cheers wash over him. Then, slowly, he approached the microphone. Though the fly couldn't grasp the exact words, the tone was unmistakable, commanding, passionate, and laced with the fervor of absolute belief. The crowd responded in unison, chanting slogans that reverberated off the city's grand facades. Something monumental was happening, a declaration that could shift the course of nations. Hanging in mid-air, the fly felt a sense of smallness more profound than anything he'd experienced before. Here was power concentrated in one individual, and thousands, if not millions, hung on his words. If the fly had more time to reflect, he might have wondered about the nature of such power. Was it purely fear, or a form of enchantment? Did these people see him as salvation, or as a symbol of something darker? But the fly's strength waned. He noted the trembling of his wings. I must hold on, he told himself. I have come this far. The question of meaning pressed on him. Could these humans, with all their speeches and wars, know something about existence that I don't? He inched closer, the glare of spotlights washing over him, determined to witness what the speaker would say. Or at least sense the moment's core. And so the young fly joined thousands of onlookers in the square that night, while the city, overshadowed by grand architecture and a roiling tension, seemed to hold its breath for what came next.
Please do me a huge favor and like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it.